Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm farrukh pitafi. Once again, we are literally going to talk about politics today because when it comes to Pakistani politics, there's never a dull moment. We are going to talk about various aspects of various issues that have emerged in past 24 hours. But before that, one has to actually point out the situation, the COVID situation in the country. It is important to remember that after the army was deployed to ensure SOPs were followed, there seems to be some stability in the numbers. But remember, this is the time when already COVID is reaching to your and my friend and family. At that moment, it is very important to ensure that SOPs are followed. It is not that difficult to wear a mask. Now, on to the business. Most important thing that one has to actually talk about is PTI. Within PTI, because of Jahangir Tareen's cases, a special block, I cannot call it forward block at this moment, perhaps a pressure group emerged, and that was quite significant. 11 MNAs at the center and around 30 MPAs in Punjab. And there was this continuous, positioning where the messaging was that if you are not going to listen to what we have to say, maybe we will part ways. So today, the Prime Minister of Pakistan met the group, not Jahangir Tareen, as he is called JKT, not JKT, but his supporters within the Parliament, Federal Parliament, and the Provincial Assembly. And there the word has it that the Prime Minister has refused to budge. And it is important to remember that when you are talking about these issues, political parties, especially the opposition parties, keep on celebrating the idea that there is a fissure within the party, where there might be some kind of, infighting going on. But here's the point. These parties kept on asking the federal government to actually hold everybody to account, including their own. When the federal government is doing that, it seems that there is this virtue signaling where the opposition parties keep on enticing these people to their side. We are going to talk about that, and of course we have to talk about PDM, whatever became of PDM. As we know, the 10-member, initially it was 11 party alliance, then it became 10, and now there seems to be a fracture within. So we are going to talk about that as well. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Fareed Rais, a journalist of renown, an anchor, analyst in the studio. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program.
Thank you,
on Skype, I'm joined by Abbas Bappi Saab, who is Senator of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Arif Chaudhry Saab also joins us on Skype, legal expert, constitutionalist, a regular on this show. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Later in the program, I'm told that we will be joined by opposition representation as well. The moment they join us, I'm going to introduce them as well. Fareed Rais, let me start with you and let me ask you, at this moment, it seems that the Prime Minister is not ready to listen, actually concede to the demands that JKT Group is making, right? So what becomes of PTI's government in Punjab, especially because it is a razor-thin majority in Punjab, and what exactly becomes the numbers at the center, because there seems to be this matter of approaching budget where these numbers can wreak havoc. Please,
yes, sir. First, you are very true about this thing. That at this moment it is the limelight among all the news channels, among all the analysts and all the people around who are talking about this, the meeting of the people who were representing Jahangir Khan Tareen. As you already have said that you will not call it a forward block.
Yeah.
Yes, it is not. But as we all know, that Prime Minister Imran Khan, who always urged that he will not bow down against the mafias. He will not bow down against the cartels.
Yeah.
Accountability will be across the board. Now, if he is on the path of accountability, and if the Prime Minister seems, or if the Prime Minister realize that there are the few elements inside his party, those are or could be responsible of the crisis, whatever we have witnessed in the recent past. So the people on the MNAs and the MPAs, and especially Jahangir Khan Tareen Saab, I think so it is just like a pressure group. And yes, he knows that we should remember the time after the 2018 elections. I'm coming to that point.
Yeah, but I wanted you to actually bargain at this moment. I want to know what happens now. Is JKT Group, if he's not going to be given any kind of leeway, are they going to just stay put and make nothing of it? Or are they going to actually switch side and join some other party?
I think so. At this moment, this is not just for the sake of Jahangir Khan Tareen Saab, who is just not presenting this thing just for the sake of showing the people, but it is showing it is for the sake of this thing that yes, he has the power, he has the members, he has the numbers also. What more significantly, we should call the numbers. And as we all know that in the Punjab also, that as you call it's a razor thin majority, it could cause a disaster for the government in the Punjab.
So one has to be very careful, Fareed, while inviting an anchor. I was indicating to you that I have to go to other events, and you immediately thought that we have to switch the camera. But let me bring in Owner Abbas Bapi Saab. Sir, last time you came to this program, you said that there is no divide within the party. Are you going to still say the same thing, sir?
Yes. Thank you so much, Pitafi sir, for inviting me to the show. I still think, if you look at the interviews with Raja Riaz was saying when he came out of the Prime Minister office and he was standing outside the Tareen Saab's house, his attitude and his words were very carefully collected, and the way he actually clarified the whole stance, it was very much clear that they had a wonderful meeting with the Prime Minister. They passed on their reservations, what they thought really, what was going on with the Tareen Saab's case, and really thought that their reservation about the political victimization of Tareen Saab's case, and they presented this case very well to the Prime Minister. And the way Prime Minister listened to what actually they said, I think it was a very good day for the PTI in itself, and all the members were very happy because their grievances was addressed. Prime Minister promised that he'll look into the matter from that perspective which actually they were presenting, and in a few days time or probably few weeks time, Barrister Ali Zafar will come up with the idea that what actually they were saying was right or not. But saying that it does not
mean that objection to Ali Zafar's name as well. And it was reported in the press.
I don't think so. Only few. I'll just explain to you because I spoke to a couple of parliamentarians who went to the Prime Minister's office today, and they said only couple of parliamentarians had reservation about the Raja Barrister Ali Zafar Saab. Not much was an issue with it. But I'm sure Barrister Ali Zafar, the person I know, he's very professional. He knows things very clearly, and the idea of the personal victimization of, in this case, probably he'll look into this matter and think the kind of things he'll bring out or dig out will clarify the whole issue. So this melting of the ice today is a good.
Nobody is actually objecting to the person of Ali Zafar Saab, but he is not in the show. But this is the news that we saw. Let me ask you another very important question. Does it, as a member of PTI, as a senator, does it worry you that powerful people within the party can have their circle of influence and they can actually parade all of them in front of camera whenever they are being held accountable?
This is the thing which is gone around the world. It's not new to only PTI. I mean, if you look at around the world with the Labours and the Democrats in America and even in UK and everywhere, even in Pakistan with the Noon League and the People's Party, there are always pressure groups.
Yeah, but
always second-tier leadership.
But you have the party of change, sir.
Now, I'll just explain to you. They have their own influential clubs. As I explained to you, I mean, in our party, like 6 or 7 of the people who are second-tier leadership, we are in contact with. We have our own relations with them, and we maintain a very close contact. We seek guidance. They are our mentors. Prime Minister is busy at times, who always need guidance. We go to them, we discuss with them. But it does not really meant for any one of us to crossing the party lines at any point in time. Because, our idea, the whole ideology of joining PTI stands behind Prime Minister Imran Khan. the idea of change or the fighting against the status quo does not really mean crossing the line just for the sake of having personal relations. So at any point in time, I was not even worried. I'm not worried today, and I don't see anything in the future happening regarding these rifts in the party. We are all intact, and trust me, by what actually Maryam Nawaz Sharif said yesterday, I mean, we are going to complete next couple of years anyway. The 5-year term of PTI will complete, in a very,
Then I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to actually particularly ask about various leaders within this group, and I have to actually reach the bottom of the matter, right? But let me bring in the other guest. First, let me welcome Dr. Nisara Chima Saab, MNA of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, joins us on telephone. Chima Saab, with your permission, first I have to go to Arif Chaudhry Saab, who is patiently waiting for his turn. Arif Chaudhry Saab, you and I in this program have discussed the matter of accountability and politics around the accountability. Does it actually not appear to you that the matter of impunity also raises its ugly head whenever any government actually goes after pressure groups, corrupt groups, or the groups that might actually have that kind of power to unsettle a government, sir?
No doubt about that, Pitafi Saab. People in this country are very powerful, especially those who are involved in, making money out of people of Pakistan. Absolutely, you are correct that they have the power. And I have seen that, even in court, they are going with impunity because, years and years take and nothing happens, notwithstanding the fact if anybody, particularly the Prime Minister is very much interested that, the responsible delinquents should be brought to book. But practically it's not possible. But coming to this topic that, these guys, who went to see the Prime Minister, it was not, a show of force only. It meant a lot. From political angle, if somebody is in PTI, there is nothing to worry about till the last thing happens, here. But for an onlooker, who looks at the things, very critically, or you can say very objectively, for him it is something a worrisome for the Prime Minister and his political party. Because, Jahangir Tareen showed his force. And Jahangir Tareen is the person who was mainly responsible to support and, vigorously support the Prime Minister, in power, bring him in power. And, he was the one who was next to none, except, the Prime Minister. So, if now he has shown, tried to show his muscles and, bringing about all these people in Punjab and in the center, it means a lot. Because, if you are saying, as my friend was saying, that, nothing to worry, because it is something very serious, because Prime Minister has nothing to give them. Because, all what they want is impunity. And if the Prime Minister gives them impunity, he asks the FIA, to, stay away from them. It means that he is going to lose the wicket on which he is playing, because since, he came into power and, accountability across the board. And now the time has come, unfortunately, that, his main supporter, I won't call it chief financial, but, main supporter of the party. Now he is the one who is under clouds. And, the demand which was made by all these people who met Prime Minister is very serious demand. Because there is one person, Shahzad Akbar, on which for accountability Prime Minister is depending entirely. He is the first man, I think, accountability man. So if, there are complaints against him, so then there is no way that Prime Minister will remove him, and if Prime Minister removes him, the message goes across, a lot to the people to the other side also. And now you see, these guys are very happy, the opposition people that, now think they couldn't make anything, against the PTI. And that's what we have been discussing in this show, that it is not the opposition who can make a difference. it is the PTI itself which will, unfortunately.
Because you spoke about these guys, the opposition guys, let me actually ask their representation also.
Yeah.
Nisar Chima sir, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Let me ask you, it was your party's demand that accountability should be on an even keel, that it should actually target or hold accountable any person, regardless of their party allegiance, especially the government's supporters should be held accountable. Now when the government actually is doing that, it seems that your party keeps on giving these mixed signals, where all of a sudden Jahangir Tareen becomes a martyr, and he becomes someone who is most welcome to your party?
But as I said, it's a matter of common knowledge, and the entire nation has witnessed to this hard fact and bitter fact that this government has set new standards, new examples, new records of political victimization in the name of accountability. And on the other hand, it is also a known fact and known to everybody, and it goes without saying, and it has proved that Imran Khan can seek and accept the assistance of any individual, any group, any party to come into power and to retain its power.
But my question was, why are you accepting that?
While doing so, he will just ignore his own previous views about that particular group and that particular individual. Now, coming to the issue of Jahangir Tareen, there were so many reasons for their differences, and he raised the slogan of accountability, across the board accountability. But when Imran Khan realized that the group of Jahangir Tareen is very strong, it's getting stronger and stronger day by day, and this group can be a threat, real threat to the government in Punjab as well as in the centre, then he immediately agreed to meet the group and address their grievances. That's the whole story. If the group is a weak one, no problem for them, and they will go for accountability, so-called accountability. If the group is strong enough to become a threat for the government, then they will agree to meet them and agree to their demands and address their grievances. That's all.
Okay. That is true, sir, but that might be true or that might not be true, but here's a question that one has to ask. There have been reports that while he was abroad, Jahangir Tareen was abroad, your party actually approached him, and your leadership actually invited JKT to be part of your party. That is the troubling part, because you keep on asking about the, better standards of accountability. On the other side, of course, when we look at your positioning, you kept on telling us that your party is a principled party. And then we see on TLP, you have been a victim of TLP. On the issue of TLP also, all of a sudden your party changes the position. JKT also, your party changes the position. So, is that any longer true that you still believe in principles?
No, you just can't ignore the fact that many of the public representatives belonging to PTI now want to dissociate from this group, from this party, because they have to go to general election, they have to face the people, general public, and they know they are the best kind of performance this country has ever seen, and during the last 2.5 years, and the form of the people facing the bombs of lawlessness, the inflation, unemployment, so many the worst kind of government, and we are taking
the answer I get is about the other party, not their own. But do stay with us. Let me go back to Farid Rais. Farid, here's an argument that I've actually recently come across, especially given that the government is trying to go for accountability, and then there's this threat that the government can be brought down because of the number game. I heard this argument that a parliamentary democracy is ill-suited to the project of accountability because there a government actually emerges out of a parliament which is going to be divided no matter what unless you have 100% majority, and there will be pressure groups that can always bring you down if you don't actually dance to the tune.
This is what we call the politics.
Okay.
This is the game of the politics.
Okay.
You cannot
It is politics. Then what is corruption?
It is politics, and whatever is done as corruption, and when you go for the
Politics is corruption?
No, I'm not saying that politics is corruption. Whatever you said, that once the change in the stance and what the question you asked to Dr. Nisaj, you must have, and as you said that whenever you talk to a political person, you cannot get the answer pertinent and relevant. You can never get an answer relevant or the pertinent to it because every party and the representative of the party has the right to defend it. So definitely you will not get the answer of your own choice. But the basic thing over here is with in the democratic.
Answer of my choice is not a problem. Answer to a question is my problem.
It is. It should be answered, but the basic thing what you are trying to dig out, yes, that in the democratic politics over here, what we are witnessing over here, it is for the very first time that we are saying that within a party, the number of the people, they are trying and they are asking for the justice. To whom they are asking for justice? The head of the party. Who are asking for the justice? The people of the party who are elected on the same ticket. You remember yesterday's speech of Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahib, in which he was very candid about, and whatever he said, that one should draw the line. Either you should be on this side of the line or you should be other side of the line, and you cannot play in between the lines. Right. So now it is the time, and it is for the very first time that it's not the opposition, it's not the other party, it's not the people who are the threat to the democracy. It is the people, and these are the people in the group of the people who belong to the party, who belong to Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who belong to the same party to which they are being elected. So this is for the very first time.
Okay. You remember that speech by heart, I think, right? But, my question primarily was, look, when you talk about presidential form of governance, the ruling party is not subservient to any parliament, and that's why they can go after any kind of corrupt, right? Look at the US. They can go after Donald Trump if they want to, if they find him guilty. In parliamentary democracy, it becomes an issue. Is it correct that you cannot have accountability and parliamentary democracy together? Look at India for that matter.
Not specifically, if you can say that. But yes, if a system in Pakistan, like in the politics over here, in which a government is dependent on its allies, because here we see that any kind of a government, unless and until a government or a party has a simple majority, who is not dependent on its allies, then we can say, or we can witness that yes, if somebody is willing to make some kind of accountable measures, if you want to go to chase the people who are corrupt, if you want to make your statements correct in front of the public, yes, you will go and you will do accountability across the board. But for that, as Arif Chaudhry Saab said, that if you want to do an accountability and if you're not afraid of the numbers of the government or the thing, then you should go ahead.
No, but this is the
and these are the compromises.
Actually, I'm trying to qualify this matter because it seems that if JKT actually leaves the government, it will become very difficult, especially for the Punjab government, to stay in power. But allow me to actually go back to Senator Saab. Senator Saab, earlier you were talking about particularly about Raja Riyaz Saab. Raja Riyaz Saab is not facing any accountability charges, especially in this aspect. What exactly is his personal grievance?
I don't think so, any personal grievance. He has been working with Kareem Saab for a very long time. I remember him joining the party before the 2018 elections, and Kareem Saab and Prime Minister Imran Khan went to his place. And probably, as I told you, that not everybody is connected to the Prime Minister in a sense, because, there is always a second-tier leadership. In our party, like the second-tier leadership consists of Kareem Saab, Maktoum Saab, Dr. Arif Alvi Saab, Khattak Saab, and quite a few other people. So everybody, one way or the other way, is connected to them. So everybody has a sort of second-tier leadership alliance to them. And whenever that second-tier leadership sort of problem, they have weddings, they are into hospital, one goes and consoles them into those issues. So primarily, I think Raja Saab has that contact with Kareem Saab, and he's just going for it. But what actually I just saw the letter, if you must have seen the letter, actually they delivered to Prime Minister Imran Khan today. The only reservation they had, that they think probably that the Kareem Saab is facing a political victimization, and his criminal cases are not actually criminal cases, and they are the corporate criminal cases which should have been handled by the SSCP rather than FIA. So I don't personally see Raja Riyaz Saab any personal grievances. He is the face of the public. He speaks well, people listen to him. So kind of everybody puts him in the front and say, okay, speak whatever you want to say on behalf of all the other people. I think that's the only issue.
This question. Because from his language, it seems that he is actually talking about something very personal. And I've listened to all the members. It seems that the people who are member of this group act like Fadain, to be honest. I mean, the way they actually speak up, it seems that they are personally, they have vowed to be loyal to Jahangir Kareem Saab. And that is none of my business. My concern is primarily the quality of democracy and how you are going to approach the matter of accountability. You said that the government is not going to compromise on its principles. Then we hear an FIA director who was looking into the matter, Mohammad Rizwan, has been replaced. And of course, then Shahzad Akbar Saab's name also came up. And it seems that everybody has some grievance against him. How do you reconcile all these matters, and especially tell me about Mohammad Rizwan Saab, why was he removed from office?
I'll answer every question because of what actually you said a few minutes back. What really is the issue with the Raja Riyaz thing? I think it is more to do with the fasting thing. Probably, he was fasting today, so kind of tone he had today could have been different. But what I heard, what I learned from him, and what I've been talking to a lot of people who went to today's meeting as well, they were perfectly fine. There was nothing of the sort that they are a pressure group or something, or they're leaving the party. It's just one single point agenda, they're looking at it, so nothing to worry them. And also, not to mention that, as you rightly said, Prime Minister will not budge at all. As far as the issues concerned with Dr. Rizwan, I'm not sure Shahzad Akbar Saab would be in much of better position to answer that. But what I personally feel is one of the FIA's inspectors, when he presented the case in the accountability court, he mentioned that we had a typo error with writing that they are fake accounts. I mean, such a big political, case with such a connotations of such high nature, you cannot make a mistake. That's something that happened almost a week back. I think that was a reaction to it. Sitting at the director's seat, if you haven't gone through the case properly and it goes to a judge where you have to accept the mistake, this is highly unlikely we just let go of this thing. So what actually happened to him probably was happened a week ago, right, sir? This thing, what actually happened was almost 2 weeks back when they presented an FIA's court, when they said that this is one week.
It was today to actually replace him, yesterday to replace him.
Not actually, it happened probably on Friday or something. It was reported on Monday morning. So it's not really the case, and by Friday I didn't think Prime Minister was really ready to see them. This was decided yesterday evening that Prime Minister will see them, so it was not really a planned sort of meeting. And this transfer posting is a normal thing, by the way. And I told you there was just one mistake which should not happen. It's the whole government out there. You are going to put up a case and you make a mistake, you accept it. It's an embarrassment. Somebody had to face the music, and probably he was right there to feel it. Probably.
The only concern was the timing, because it seemed that there was some kind of relation. But that is your point of view, and it is most welcome. Let me go back to Arif Chaudhry Saab and ask the question that I earlier put to Fareed Rais. Accountability and parliamentary system. So can they go together?
Not in this country. Frankly speaking, it's very difficult and rather impossible, because, it's not for the first time. Throughout, the years we have been witnessing this thing, whenever somebody comes to power, particularly those who come through ballot and, those who become member of the parliament and then they elect their prime minister. It is very difficult, for those to hold the, this emblem in their hands, of accountability and to carry out their agenda, because nobody can do that. One thing which is not understandable in this scenario is the phrase political victimization. How does it figure in the case of Jagir 3? There is no political victimization. It could be alleged in the case of the opposition, in the case of Shahbaz Sharif, Nawaz Sharif, or People's Party. But here in this case, there is no concept of political victimization. This is a slogan or a defense which everyone who is, once he is in the, under the charge, he has to make his defense, and that defense is political victimization. We as a lawyer see every day, those people, who go to the courts and, they make out a defense that I am, being a victim of political victimization or, political vengeance. So, but in this particular case, we should not forget that Raja Riaz's tone is very, conspicuous. And your question is very pertinent. It's not like, because sophistry can play a wonderful role, as far as getting away with the thing. But still, one has to be very particular, because I know Raja Riaz, and Raja Riaz is very clear, and this is not only one Raja Riaz. There are many others, and once I pointed out, on the show, that there are disgruntled gentlemen in PTI, those who have joined political party PTI, and they were, very senior politicians. They were ignored, and this is not the first time that we are.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But my concern once again, because I asked you and you actually agreed with the question, whether accountability and parliamentary democracy can work together. I ask just because if they cannot, it seems that the permanent refrain in Pakistan's politics is demand for accountability. On the other side, we know that in Pakistan, parliamentary democracy is also deeply entrenched. So there is going to be a conflict in coming days. That means every government will keep on going after corrupt people, and they will be brought down then.
That has its history. If you see, from the day one, when this classic, this NAP came into existence in one way or the other, since 1999, that's happening, and if you remember that the book, Gaddar Khan, in Urdu, it was based upon the interviews, and one question was particularly asked by Sohail Badawi to Nawaz Sharif. So why these cases against, Nawaz Sharif was asked, why these cases? He said these cases were, registered on the instance of ISI. And, all that what is going till today, and that is a history, a long history, of victimization, political victimization, notwithstanding the fact that corruption
Political victimization,
is,
claims of political victimization.
claims of political victimization as far as...
Yeah, so with due respect, because the whole narrative right now, especially Chima Sahab's party's narrative, is primarily based on what happened in the Panama case, right? And there it seems that everybody keeps on blaming or criticizing the permanent institutions of state, while actually the story broke abroad. And then when it came inside the country, there was a very simple answer, very simple question of money trail, and we couldn't find any. Nisar Chima Sahab, is there a possibility that your party, before PTI, it was your party that used to talk about accountability? The first accountability bureau that was created in this country was created by your party, headed by Safar Rahman Sahab. Is there a possibility that you, along with other parties, including Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, can have a bare minimum agenda that, regardless of the leadership of party, corrupt people will not be accepted, and there is going to be some reform in the law so that every corrupt person can be held accountable?
Radhan, you are right. All the political parties should have joined hands and to implement,
for a common agenda of reforms acceptable to all the political parties and to ensure a proper system of accountability, because as we have talked about the parliamentary form of democracy, no system in the world, including parliamentary form of democracy, can work without an effective system of accountability. But effective system of accountability must ensure across the board accountability, transparent system of accountability. It should not be the one which the entire nation is witnessing nowadays, which is targeted, which is politically motivated, which is one-sided. It's a joke in the name of accountability. And if you allow me, the principle, the rule which is being followed by the present government is that the Prime Minister Imran Khan will never surrender to any pressure group, any mafia, but the condition is that provided that particular group or individual is not that strong, that it poses a real threat to the government. But if it becomes so strong that it becomes a real challenge for the government, then that particular group and that particular mafia will be welcomed with open arms. That is the rule which is being followed by Imran Khan nowadays.
Chima sir, with due respect here, I have to come in because I have to share my impression as well from what we are hearing from the Prime Minister. It seems that the Prime Minister is ready to lose anything, but he is not ready to compromise on these principles. This is what we keep on hearing. And the fact is that there is a possibility that Punjab government may fall, the centre might face some pressure. But the PM has actually said to his own allies that he is not going to compromise on these matters.
But as I said, if you allow me, yes, Prime Minister is not ready to compromise on principle, provided that particular group, as I mentioned earlier, any particular mafia, any particular individual is not that strong that becomes a real threat for the government. Otherwise, the whole nation remembers very well what the Prime Minister used were JKT, Calf League, Qazi League, about MPM, about the individual, the person who is holding the office of the Interior Minister nowadays. So many other examples. But if the Prime Minister, he has proved, practically proved, that he can accept the assistance of anybody to come into power and to retain his power. That is the principal rule. This is being followed by Imran Khan.
Right, but when you actually said that on accountability agenda there should be consensus, and I have realized that within your party also there are voices who don't want national institutions to be politicized. So I see making of another charter or democracy, right, Farid? At this moment it seems that there are voices within parties, regardless of their leadership, who want to actually work on bare minimum or common minimum agenda, where you can ensure that corrupt are punished, where you know that state institutions are never critiqued unduly. But regardless, let me ask you another question regarding Prime Minister's position right now. You have been studying politics, you have been following politics for quite some time. Do you think that Prime Minister at this moment is in a mood to compromise on any of these things?
As far as till date, as the Prime Minister, as we are getting the news that the Prime Minister will not compromise on this thing, but as said earlier, that yes, it will depend upon the presence of the Punjab government. It will depend upon what kind of steps the Prime Minister will take around, as we are hearing the name of Shahzad Akbar Sahab, as you mentioned earlier, the FIA head Dr. Rizwan Sahab.
Yeah, but that was clarified by the Senator.
Yeah, the Senator Sahab said it. But as far as good, that yes, at this moment it seems that the Prime Minister
is not going anywhere. This is what we hear.
Prime Minister is not compromising in all those things, but it will in the coming future it will depend upon the situation of all those things, whether this kind of the people are they getting any kind of reliefs in the things. We'll be, as we'll witness about what Jahangir Khan Tareen case will take the course around.
But you realize that of late the Prime Minister, actually there are many inflection points, right? 2011 it was a big moment when all people actually joined the party. 2014, they actually staked out for quite some time, but couldn't get what they wanted. But Panama Papers was the time when PTI effectively degraded its competition and came to power. So, are they going to compromise on corruption or accountability?
I don't think so. The Prime Minister will compromise. I don't think so.
Right. That seems heartening, actually. Let me go back to Senator Saab. Senator Saab, your conclusion, sir.
Pitafi sir, I'm losing you. Can you be more?
Let me ask you. I'm told that we are running out of time, so we have to actually conclude the program. Your concluding remarks, sir.
Just wanted to let everybody know, and all my colleagues, as you rightly said, Prime Minister will not budge on the narrative which he said to the nation that this is why we are here in the government, for the accountability and across the board, and meeting all the members of the parliament who belong to our own party does not really mean necessarily that compromising on the principle which actually the party stands on. And the Prime Minister, I know it will never be the case, and even the Kareem Sahab, I know, trust me, what actually he's asking is something not right, that he wants the leniency on the part of investigation. It's just the platform is saying, it's not the FIA, it should be the SSV is looking for. So rest assured to everybody and all the friends from the PDN, all the opposition, whatever is left of it, that they don't have to be happy about it. PT is intact, and so is the Prime Minister Imran Khan's government, and inshallah after Eid and after the summers and all those, till 2023, we're all there and we'll be there, inshallah.
Sir, regarding Jahangir Tareen Sahab, if you say so, okay. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that somebody, if they only have a legal case or concern, they actually form a pressure group and come on in front of television to merely say that we need this kind of procedure, because this is then not a political matter. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, very quickly, sir, your conclusion as well.
Irrespective of whether the Prime Minister is going to budge or not to Jahangir Tareen and his group, the worst casualty in this country is accountability. And I don't see any bright future of accountability. As far as you are concerned, we have to be very optimistic, and we should say that, the time may come when, everybody will be made, accountable before the law and the rule. But here things are very different, because everybody, as far as slogan is concerned, that's going to remain, all the times. But as far as actually bringing people to book, because those corrupt people are so strong wherever they are, that they can push the button and, they can get things done in their favor. And, all these institutions, to my mind, as I am going through them every day, I think that, system is lacking, this basic cracks of the matter.
We have dearth of time. I still have to ask Fareed, if you want to come up with one-liner, please do.
I believe in this thing that it is the wish of all the people, and it is always said that accountability, but for that you have to take some kind of very bold steps, irrespective of compromising anything.
Okay, what can be bolder steps?
Anything.
All right.
Anything.
Right. That we have to conclude the program here. Fareed Rais, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. On Abbas Bapi Sahab, thank you very much, Senator sir, for your precious time. Arif Chaudhry sir, thank you very much, sir, for your enlightened views. You always help us in understanding the circumstances. Dr. Nisar Ahmed Cheema sir left earlier, but I have to thank him for his precious input as well. Yes, I tell you one aspect which is very important. When it comes to accountability and corruption, being a common man, most of us have actually realized long ago that corruption is something that seems to be fait accompli, and that we have to make peace with whatever is going on around us. But then there is this impulse in the system from time to time when we are told and we see the dream that the corrupt can be nabbed. Then that happens. One starts believing in the possibility of the system based on accountability, justice and merit. If that thing can happen, and somehow all the political parties, especially the backbenchers, decide that nobody will be allowed to blackmail a government that wants to hold its own as accountable as the others, then perhaps this country can move forward. Let us hope that happens. In this program, this was it. We take your leave. Take care.